Hello, Internet. Welcome back to another episode of Chai and Chill Season 2. And joining us today is another favorite human being of mine. Hello, Cat Mommy, mini influencer, advocate for mental health, and is a content writer for a company in Pune, Ranjini Dasgupta. I hope I pronounced your name right. I meant to ask you.
Hello, everyone. Yes. No, you pronounced it correctly. It's not Ranjini, it is Ranjini because, well.
Thank you so much for agreeing to be on Chai and Chill. And as you know, the first bit that we do is this is my beautiful cup that is joining us on Chai and Chill. I got this as a Secret Santa gift, and I told him I'm going to be using this.
And it's beautiful. And since for some reason I can't find cups at my place when I need it, it's just the normal chai cup that I have tea from. So it has a lot of bubbles and leaves for some reason.
It's a very cute cup.
So,
and also joining us
very
is Felix, who has decided to turn his face away from us. Moon is also
and
there,
my
but
cat
Moon
is sleeping, so I can't show his face now.
I
can always turn the camera and show it to you.
First things first, you have a number of things on your hand. You're involved with an NGO for folks, where you are the go-to foster mommy for cats, catos. You have a IG Live series where you try to make mental health more accessible for, mere mortals, I want to say. And if I'm not wrong, you're a content writer for a company based in Pune. So you've been working remotely since the pandemic hit.
Yes.
And now we are going to explore all of this one by one. So the first thing is, what made you decide to become part of an NGO that takes care of stray animals?
So, Fur Folks came to me through one of my very good friends. So I was in between jobs at that time. Back in June, I had quit my previous job because, of course, it became really stressful for me. And I needed to do something in the meantime while I was, looking for jobs. And Anumita, our very own Anumita, had suggested that I'm working for an NGO. Why don't you join Fur Folks? And you can work as a PR because you have good communication skills. You can communicate well with people, and you are much more active on social media. So what I did was, I was like, sure, why not? At least it will cover up my time and keeps me busy when I'm feeling down, because I was not in a very good state. And Fur Folks really changed my life, honestly speaking. It was one of the very few places where I felt like I belonged there and that I fit right in. And the people are amazing. And of course, I am a cat whisperer or a dog whisperer, and I just go on streets and I'm like, hi little kid, and I feed the dogs. Or cats don't come to you so easily on the streets unless they are house cats, right? And I have seen that no matter whose house I'm going to, cats usually have a thing for me, and they just kind of sit beside me because I probably smell like a cat. I don't know. Apart from that, Fur Folks gave me a platform to view animal rights and animal activism very, very differently. I was a little skeptical first at fostering, but then I was like, if I never try, how will I know? And that's when my foster story began. My first foster was not exactly a foster; it was more of a staycation with Oreo. So Oreo is one of our members' cat who was adopted, who has hand leg paralysis as well. And for some reason, Shoroda, who is Oreo's father, he had hurt his back and he needed a couple of days to recover. So I was like, okay, let me at least try. If I don't try, I will not know. It was difficult because I've never ever fostered a paralyzed cat, right? And I did not know, I was being very scared and fearful. I felt that I'm not doing something right. I could not even change a nappy because he had to be kept, he had to wear nappies. But at Shoroda's place, he never did. So at my place, it was the first time. So of course, there was a lot of resistance. But somehow 3 days I managed, and I realized that I can do it. It's not impossible. It's just a little bit of training. And then I had Lexi come to me from Maniktala in Kolkata. That's a far off place. He was rescued in Dum Dum. he was brought to Maniktala and then he came to Toliganj. So a huge distance of traveling. So Lexi was the first foster I had, and it was one of the most wholesome experiences. I saw a really timid but happy cat turn into the king of the world in front of me. Uh, he had zero resistance. He was like, he did not sleep without me. He had his own cozy corner. And the day he went to his forever home, I cried a lot. Being a foster, this is one negative that you get attached so much to one of the, you get attached to the cats so much that when they go, you're happy, but you're also like, what now? You might not even get to see them again. Thankfully, these cats have gone to places that I can go and visit anytime I want. I keep getting updates, and Lexi has grown up to be beautiful. Yesterday, only Folks posted a video of Lexi and Huzo, the Shomik's place. The doctor who's with, yeah. And then there was another cruelty case that was near my house, near my school actually. And that cat was normal, like he didn't have any complications. She did not have any complications as such, and she was the fastest to get adopted. She got adopted in 7 days. Her name was Golpo because apparently she had a story to tell, and the cruelty. Yes, Golpo had a story to tell. She had a tough life, and she was a cuddle bug to me. Now she has adapted so well, and she's actually living with one of your cats' daughters, Bella. And they have like
cat. Those are not my cats. I've never met them.
Well, you have seen them, so now they are best friends. Like they can't stay without each other.
So that
and I keep telling,
So that story was their mother passed away, and since Bella is a black cat, you know how black cats are treated in this society. Although during the time we were trying to get Bella adopted, there was a craze for we want black cats, and that scared all of us.
Yes.
We were convinced that something wrong is happening.
Exactly, and we were like literally on the Facebook groups that we post for adoption or post for any treatment cases that is going on. There was an uproar for black cats, and we were like, is it because that there was a craze of black magic and all that happened a few months ago before that, and that kind of attracted that bro. We are from Bengal does not mean we are superstitious and we need to be burned at stakes. No, we love cats, and I'm glad that the uproar came out and people started to break the stigma of black cats being not bad luck. So I have a plan of adopting a black cat someday.
That was my plan as well. I really wanted to adopt a black cat, but as fate has it, your cats need to be aligned. This one came.
Yes. Your cats have to be aligned.
But the thing with the fosters is there is always a group and you have to give them updates. Since he was adopted through the channels, they have my details where I live.
So they can come and see how he's doing.
They don't do that because I don't allow that. But I have to send them updates every month.
Updates, right. But that's okay. Like, I think it only keeps them a little happier on the other end. That, okay, cat is in good hands. He's not big.
The thing is, I have never fostered cats because I cannot imagine giving them up. I can't. So I have only taken in cats I knew was going to be with me forever. So you've already told me how difficult it is.
It is.
You know at the back of your mind that this is not forever.
Yeah, it is. It's always there. And with Moon is my third foster. I have given for folks a timeline that if he does not get adopted by January, I'm not giving him up. I will be the one adopting him and I'm keeping him. If required, I will I'm supposed to move to Pune, and when I do, he might have to stay here for a few months, and then I'll take him so that once I settle and everything, he can come and join me over there.
Thing is, I was going to ask you that if anybody is on the fence about adopting or fostering, like personally, I do not want to foster dogs or adopt dogs because I find them emotionally exhausting. Mm-hmm. Like the kind of attention I can give him,
yes,
and I can get away with it, I can't do it with a dog.
Yes.
Plus, I live in a very small apartment in Bombay, so it's not good for the dog either.
Absolutely. Like I feel that dogs are more like human babies. They require that 24/7 attention, and they have emotional attachment issues. It's the same with cats too, but somehow they are a little more independent in nature. So uh, I prefer cats because honestly speaking, they are pretty low maintenance.
Yeah,
Like you don't have to give them
like
24.
taking care of a.
They are very chill.
I don't know if it's the correct thing to say, but I feel like it's taking care of a little drunk adult.
Yes, absolutely. It's like they will come to you only when they are like, yes, I need cuddles now. You give me cuddles, human. If they are like, I don't want your attention, just let me go, and they will just go. And it doesn't matter whether they are like normal cats or paralyzed cats or they are missing a limb or has some physical disabilities, anything. It's the same with all cats. They will want their own space and time.
Okay, the next question that I'm going to ask you overlaps two of the interests, which is we are both very
Yes.
committed towards raising awareness for mental health. And one of the reasons
Right.
I adopted Felix is because during the pandemic, it was one of the loneliest times of my life. I was not getting any human connection, and so honestly, adopting him really helped my mental health. So, did fostering and
Right.
adopting help you? What was that like? And also, the other thing is, it helps their mental health if I'm not wrong. Like people don't really talk about the mental health of animals.
Yeah. They don't. Mental health of animals is something in India people very blatantly ignore. I have seen in Furfox itself, we had dogs and cats for adoption, and adopted them. And 1 week later, they are screaming, they are not calming down, they are not eating, they are being very annoying, and then they give them up. What they are completely disregarding is the fact that you gave this little life a hope that I am coming to a home, and a week later you kind of just let him go. So can you imagine how much pressure and stress you're putting on that animal itself? Because they are like, what did I do wrong? Just because they can't say it, you can see it in their eyes. Like I have seen cats, they're being abandoned, or dogs being abandoned, and they have that look in their eyes like, I am not a bad guy, why have I been abandoned? So yes, mental health is very important for animals, and through our page on For Folks, we are trying to spread this awareness where we are advocating that mental health for animals matter too. Just because they can't say it does not mean they don't have it, right? Just because we can speak uh, and understand each other, maybe they can have a conversation amongst their animal friends, but we are not being able to go through that. So mental health is very, very important for them as well. For me, fostering has definitely made me less overthink. I am usually a procrastinator, and I overthink a lot. I overthink situations that may never happen. With fostering, it has actually helped me not do that. I actually am present in the moment. After work, I know I'm stressed. I know that Moon is there, and I just go and just keep my head on his lap, on his stomach. It's really floofy stomach, and he's sleeping, and I'm like, yes, this is what stress relief is about. So I, being from the field of psychology and still learning, I won't say I am a proper practitioner, but I do want to spread awareness, because mental health in 2020 made us realize how much important it is. 2020 was the year of realization that mental health is important and it mattered, because we saw people crumbling down, we saw people going into depression, we saw people not being able to adjust, and we saw a lot of divorces this year, because
and marriages
usually there is a lot of conflicts when two people are living together for 24/7, right? And in a way, I am happy that mental health has come out victorious this year, that yes, you need to address it. It is important to go to therapy, and we therapists are not doctors for mad people. There is nothing called mad. That's the first thing I need to emphasize on. There is nothing called mad. There is emotional and psychological disabilities, and nobody is mad. Like, in Bengali, whenever I say that I studied psychology, I want to pursue something in the fields of psychology, they're like, oh, tu pagolet doctor hobi. And I'm like, bro, no, you can't say all of this.
That's a thing that I think it started from our grandmother's generation, where psychology, people didn't understand psychology as much. Because my mom studied child psychology, and during her time, it was also a very revolutionary thing. So we are a little more sorted because we were brought up in a way where she understood that child psychology and mental health was addressed. But I've also seen people whose mental health are never addressed. And I know it's a joke, but it's
and
also, sometimes you go to therapy because you need to deal with someone who actually should but refuses to go to.
Yes, that is true. I have had a couple of my friends go to therapy because of their partner or a friendship or a toxic relationship that they are in. Parents don't understand that all the time, but all you can do is make them sit down and make them understand that, it's not very difficult, just that sometimes they can be difficult. So
I think that
addressing it,
realize that they can also be toxic, that you can love me a lot, but you can still be toxic to me.
Exactly. Because you might not be able to understand the toxic behavior you're projecting on the other person as well. Like saying that you're becoming too dark. Even for a parent to say that to a child, that creates a conflict within the child, thinking that, okay, I need to do a lot of things to make myself fairer. They use the fairness screens, but what they don't realize is their skin color is that you can't change it. Right? Then body shaming, like blatant body shaming still happens in close relatives. You're like, Are tu koto roga hoye gechi, Are you've become so fat, you've gained weight. And I'm like, what is your problem? Like, is it affecting you in any way? I am not eating with your money. I am not wasting your money. I'm doing everything with my money, and I am doing it for myself. I'm not here to please you. I am not French fry. I can't please everybody. Yeah, French fries pleases everybody. Aloo bhaja, any type of fried potato, basically. I can't, or I'm not vodka. I can't make you happy. So yeah, I have had, like, during the pandemic, of course I couldn't go out. Like, usually when I go out, I walk a lot, or there's a lot more hassle going on. So I did not used to put on so much weight, but I did put on a little bit of a muffin top on my stomach because I'm sitting at home and working. I'm not going out as much. And people have been like, you're gaining weight, you should maintain it. I'm like, you need to stop.
Talk about that IG live that you started hosting during the pandemic with Chayantini Vishnu.
Yes. So
why did that start? And was it because of the pandemic that it started?
So honestly, the live sessions, we had been planning for a while, okay? But for some reason, we both couldn't make time. Like, either she was, time. Like, either she was busy or I was not available. So after that time, when I was again in between the jobs, we had a call and we were like, this is the time people are spreading a lot of mental health awareness, but people are spreading it in a way common people may not understand. Like, there was a lot of terms like depression and anxiety, and these two terms were one of the most commonly used, and a lot of technicality into the live sessions went into it. So for somebody who has not studied psychology, or who doesn't have any idea about what depression or what causes depression is, dopamine and serotonin and low levels of these hormones they will not understand what you're talking about. And Vishnudi being one of the well-known therapists in the city that I know of, who has done her degree in hypnotherapy as well. So she is a certified hypnotherapist right now. And we both kind of came to a conclusion that we both think on the same plane when it comes to mental health. I'm just seeing Felix turn, and it's very cute. So Shantini, we just said ki, let's start off with something. something that is very easy for people to understand, something that is very commonly used but not commonly explained ever. And that is when we came out with this live session, in conversations with, it was more like we being on the same plane, we wanted to discuss about depression being not just a state of sadness. There are a lot of things going on behind, and we wanted people to be more participating, because it was more about the journey of healing, because a lot of people went into that journey in 2020, and we wanted to cover that. And that is how our live session came to be. I forgot the name of our live session, which is so weird. It kept changing actually per week. So it was more like in conversations with Vishnudi, and it was different topics that we selected, and it was a different topic every week. It's sometimes the continuation of the same topic the next week. We wanted to bring to the people, the common people, that there are mental health advocates in the city who will just listen to you and not give you blatant advices. Like, it is very easy to give advice and get away with it, and you don't even know if the person is actually healing through that. And therapy is something much more intense than just advising. It is also about listening, it is also about understanding, it is also about the other person facing so much resistance that they are unable to accept some of the things they are saying to the therapist as well. So we wanted to explain certain terms, like speech, then listening, hearing, breathing, just normal things that we do. And we wanted to bring that, and how it helps us grow, and how it helps us heal, and how disbalance in that can cause different types of psychological and emotional stress or overwhelmingness. So this is what made our live session come into view. I forgot the word. So yeah, that is how we kind of came up with our mental health live sessions. That's about it. Like, it was a good couple of months of understanding, reaching out, and having people understand that there are people who are there to listen to you. I had a lot of friends come to me, calling me and saying that, Acha, you did this live session, can you explain? Like, I'm going through this and I'm not being able to breathe, and I'm like, you need to just sit in one place. Yeah. Sorry?
Because I have always been very open about the fact that I started therapy when I moved to Bombay, because Bombay is a difficult city to be in.
I kind of missed what you were saying. Yeah.
So, and right. I still remember that somebody had once told me, but you don't look like you need therapy.
It's very...
I can look the prettiest and I will still be having a mental breakdown. You will not know.
Absolutely. Therapy does not have a face. You can look your brightest and your most beautiful in your most beautiful sparkly dress with a lot of makeup on, and still you can be feeling lonely in a room full of hundreds of people who love you. And you don't need therapy because somebody said you don't look like it. You need therapy because you need somebody to listen to. And a lot of people, I know, they don't listen. Like, half the problems are solved if you just sit and listen to the problem. Half of it is solved, and that is what makes therapy so therapeutic. And I feel that in a world where we are always rushing, having a person to come back home to, or having a person you can call anytime and just say, I just want to talk for 10 minutes, and the other person doesn't talk, it relieves so much stress that it kind of makes them understand that yes, there is somebody I can talk to who listens, and not listens just to reply back to the conversation, just listens normally. And they're like, yes, you could have done this instead of that. What made you make this decision? So it's always about asking what, how, when questions rather than why questions, because why questions make you want to think. I was like, oh God, why did I do this? So instead of doing that, you can always make it a positive reinforcement and ask questions based on what, when, how, instead of why. So yeah, that's how our conversations and our live sessions came out, and it was just a joint venture we wanted to explore together at this point of time. Although we have stopped the live sessions now because we both kind of went into a place where we needed some space from people and online spaces as well. So we are planning to start again in March. So let's see.
One question I like to ask you is, what started your interest in mental health in the first place, like pursuing psychology as a major?
So the reason I wanted to start psychology, like we had an option in class 11-12. So I was an art student through and through. Science, although I had maths, which was the worst decision of my life to pair maths with arts. Anyway, so that my parents had just one condition: you are selecting all the subjects on your own. Just have one subject we are asking you to take, and that was maths.
And it was maths.
Yeah. Yes, for some reason. Anyway. They were also supportive when I said that, I am not scoring well in maths because it's not my strong suit. And they were like, it's okay, then you drop it. And I was given, because back when I was in 11-12, it was best out of 4. So I could drop the subject. And I dropped maths. I was like, relieved. At least I got 80% in my boards without maths than 60% with maths. So that was a good decision.
Yep.
So 11-12 had psychology. I had no idea about psychology before that, and I thought Suhail Seth was a psychologist. I'm just saying because I was so naive back then, rather. So then I started reading about the schools of thought, how psychology came into being, how in Germany it started, and there were different schools that were catering to different ideologies and trains of thought and school of thoughts, and that kind of triggered my interest, and I decided to pursue psychology in college. Wanted to explore more. Basically, I wanted to explore what the subject is, and I fell in love with the subject because not just the book, I started watching more movies, I started reading more books on psychology, I started reading more about the authors and the researchers and the psychologists who were there, Sigmund Freud being one of them, of course, although all of his theories are redundant now, but he completely made way for people to understand that there is a thing called subconscious and unconscious mind, and there is a lot that goes on over there, and that is just like the ocean's depth, like it just keeps going, and that kind of triggered my my interest in the subject. Then there was of course there was Carl Jung, there was Abraham Maslow of the humanistic approach, and these were the psychologists I wanted to read about, and that is how I realized that psychology is something I want to do later in my life, not now, later in my life. And later on I realized that my generation, like the people in my friends group or people at my age range, they were all going through series of depression, not depression, self-harm, mostly self-harm. Then there was a lot of suicide rates going on, rising and going on in that year. I lost a friend around that time. He wasn't a very close friend, but he's somebody I knew through mutual other friends, right? So of course you feel bad. Then there was a lot of anxiety, there was a lot of stress, there was burnout, and that is when I realized that nobody talks about these things at all. They just keep it within themselves. Like with self-harm, all of a sudden I used to self-harm for myself too. I am not going to shy away from that because I had my issues, and self-harm was the only way I could come out of things, and that was when I was 17-18 years old. It was a kind of emotional release. And when I started therapy, when I actually started going to therapy, because I realized I need help, this is not working, and it helped me understand that emotionally I have pent up so much of emotions that are suppressed and are needing to come out, but for some reason I am not being able to bring that out anymore. And that is when I realized that I want to do this for other people, and I want to help them understand that it's okay, that there is somebody who's listening to you, there is somebody who's there for you, and there is somebody who can you know who will get you out of your mess. I will not take all your responsibilities, but I will try at least to make you understand that you're not alone in this. There is somebody else who's walking with you on the same path. And that is how I realized that spreading awareness for mental health, if anybody says that I'm going through this, I say that, have you considered therapy? You can always go. They're like, but therapy, my issues are not major enough to go to therapy. And I explain it to them that it's not about having your issues being major or your concerns being major. Therapy is just a way of you know bringing out the things you don't want to talk about with, right? And it, you can not do that with your friends or your best friends or your mom or your sister also. There are certain things you want a stranger to listen to. That's why we feel so much more relieved when we talk to a stranger about a lot of things. I have done that, and it has happened to me. Like, for some reason, it was a very vague night. I don't remember much of it, but I remember I was sitting with one of the female in that party, and she just spoke to me about randomly about everything in her life. And when we were leaving, she's like, I felt good after talking to you. That's basically it. There's nothing. You just sit and listen, and everything is going to be okay. But therapy is a little more intense. It makes you want to explore your inner self more. And that is why I want to keep spreading the word for mental health, that how important it is. And even your brain can fall sick.
Yeah.
Just like any other organ in your body, brain is also an organ, and it has its own issues and concerns. And that is why you have psychologists and psychiatrists and psychotherapists and hypnotherapists who help you go through treatments and therapies through their line of work. So that is what I want to do. I want to help people, basically.
Yeah, I am relatively new in your life, so I had no idea about your past where you self-harmed and all. So the version of you that I know is constantly, that the version is so positive that I'm constantly impressed and inspired by it, that no matter what the world is throwing at you, like, no, we'll figure it out. Like, yeah, allow yourself to be sad, but there's always a way out. So has being around cats and just being more aware of mental health helped with this entire process?
Yes, being around cats has actually, me being around animals is kind of it takes the stress out of my life. So being with cats, I have realized, like, you know how it is, like, you're actually a dog person at the beginning, and then you finally have out of the blue you adopt cats, and you're like, I'm a cat person. And that was my transformation too. I always thought that I am a dog person, but then I realized that I'm not, and cats are basically my go-to animals, and it's my spiritual animal. My patronus on Pottermore is also a tortoise shell cat, so I know I'm a cat person. And I feel that cats teach you a lot about consent. They teach you a lot about space. They teach you a lot about it's okay to be alone. And you learn from them so much. Like with dogs, they are more attached, more loyal, and they constantly need attention. With cats, like we already discussed, it's not that. They will come to you when they want to. They will let you touch them when they want to. And if you touch them regardless of them not giving you consent, they will bite you. So yeah. So cats teach you all of that, and that is what I really like about cats, and it has helped me understand them more. Although Moon keeps getting a lot of jhar because he keeps annoying me a lot, and for no reason he bites me. But I guess that's the deal I signed up for when I said that I'm going to be your foster mom. So my mental health has been better ever since I have again started keeping cats at my place. I don't think I own them; they own me. I am. They are my masters, so I have to feed them when they ask to be fed. I have to change their nappies when they asked to be changed. Apart from that, yeah, like with cats, I think I have become a more positive person. I have stopped letting toxic people in my life anymore, and I cut them off at, like, from the root. Like, okay, for a month I'm going to see how you behave, and if you show your true colors after that, you are gone from my life, bro. I don't need this drama. I have enough of my own. And it has also, I feel that cats also bring you closer to other people.
They do. Thank you
This
so
is
much
what
for joining
happens.
me on Chai and Chill, Ranjini.
Thank you for
And
having
I
me. This
hope
was,
we meet in one of the states this year.
yes, I hope so too. I hope it is in Bombay or in Pune. Thank you for having me. It was good to see you and Felix and
He was still sleeping.
Moon. I sleepy baby. And I hope that, seriously, this year is going to be a little tough if I have to move to another city. But I know that there is family waiting somewhere there as well.
There is a lot, because if you move to Pune, I am right next door. Although we
Yes,
think that we'll see each other, but hopefully traveling
we
restrictions
will.
will be a little better next.
Yeah, you're right.